Item 2, to note declarations of members' interests as the agenda was sent out. No? Okay, thank you. Could we confirm the minutes of the planning meeting that took place on the 18th of March?
Yes, I'll read them today.
That's okay then, colleagues, right, thank you. I shall now sign them. Okay. Item 4, public participation. I know there's nobody in attendance, but have we had any communications off anybody? No. Ah. Apologies.
Well, they were.
Okay then. Right, we have a whole host of applications today, so I think we'll just continue down. Are you okay, Madeline, if we
Yeah,
continue?
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay then, item 5, to make the following responses. So 241358.
Yeah, we can bring
It's
up
the first one.
It's,
Just
it's
to
a
go
fairly-
through it.
it's fairly straightforward one. It's a small extension to a property, but mostly for the facilitating of disabled access and sustained living there. It's not a challenging application, it's appropriate to scale and is a positive adaptation.
Okay then, we'll cover that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one then, 241249. Internal alterations to C3 to C2 in the staff office. A single flat on first floor and shared facilities between downstairs bedroom and office.
This facility is a supported accommodation for people with learning difficulties, and the alteration is to provide a central office for whoever supports those individuals in that property at this time. There wasn't significant changes that I could identify. Although I think there was a comment. So does that make a comment about light?
Mm.
Put these changes on, it's massive.
Is it being used now as a HMO? Just
I
as
think
flats,
I think it's used as flats. It's intended use as supported accommodation for people with learning disabilities. To become, yes.
Yeah. So will that eliminate that criticism that
It doesn't specify in any applications. I think it's appropriate to comment and say mitigation should be put in place to address concerns and the impact of a meeting to the neighbouring property. We're moving from C3 use, C3 being general accommodation, to C2, which is supported accommodation.
No. Anybody wish to make a comment?
Is there any comment in the papers about, well, it says it's supported living, is it, it's not going to be a children's home, is it?
It's a charity that provides accommodation for people who require assistance with living, such as learning difficulties. There's no way of working out exactly who will be living there and support their requirement. That's what that charity does. So there's some changes to the external, but not a huge amount. But realistically, the changes are its use, not its layout. Although there's an internal change to create a little office for whoever's going to support it.
Okay, so do we wish to make the comment of the neighbour or raise that particular issue, which is light and
I think it could be argued that the neighbour concerns associated with their amenity due to too much light and, and what mitigation can be done should be encouraged. That would be my suggestion. But in terms of what it's changing, it's providing accommodation in a building that already does that sort of thing anyway, but in a supported sense.
okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not.
If it's accommodation, then surely the lights won't be on at night. That's not.
The neighbours expressing their concerns. I think it's
Yeah.
you must take it at face value. I don't know. I've not experienced it myself.
Have they got external lights?
I can only answer as I can answer. I've not been there at night. Sorry.
It's not good enough. Sorry.
Anyway, yes, Malin.
Well, I mean, it's a street of terraced housing, isn't it? Normally those houses are 2 to 3 bedrooms, so there would be often most of the houses will have more than one person living in them, and people come and go and may well stay up late at night and have lights on. So you're always going to be aware of your neighbours in that type of accommodation, aren't you? So it's a bit of a difficult one really to say it would be anything really out of the ordinary. If you know that sometimes people need support through the night, and sometimes a member of staff may be there, therefore may have lights on. But I think your suggestion of mitigation would be reasonable therefore. It's to enable somebody to live in a residential area, isn't it? Rather than in an institution somewhere, I presume.
For me, I can't see a reason in a planning context to object, but I can see a reason to encourage some mitigation by that charity to have a thought for their neighbours. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you. This one. 241271. Application for change of use of the property from C3 to C4. House of multiple occupation. Remove the external staircase and use of roof terrace and return the external elevation back to their original appearance. Now we did look at this one, did we? Right, and I know it went to Cheshire East Committee, Planning Committee as well, and there's always been some issues with it, but they put an external staircase, which I believe that was felt it was out of keeping with the street scene. I think they're referring there to removing it.
Sorry, I was bringing up some different bits on this one.
The west side, isn't it? As a principle, it's indicating this is changing to an HMO, and this is the external fire escape that they're proposing to remove. The intent, as I understand it from the plans when I can find them, when you load, is to have accommodation on the ground on the first floor, and then the owner accommodation on the loft or second floor. It does indicate a basement, but doesn't indicate what that might be used for. The use to C4 should be for accommodation for up to 6 people. This is the site here, and this is the proposed layout. They've put amenity space in, they've put cycle storage, bin storage, some parking, some positive considerations on that. That one. Yeah, well,
Sorry.
Steve, you
Right,
can
from
build
the-
on this, can't you?
You know, I'm quite familiar with the background to the previous application. I won't go into all that. I mean, this used to be a solicitor's office, Speakman's, until a few years ago. And there were previous applications for other accommodation which were turned down, but they're not relevant to this now. The fact is, with the work that's been done, broadly speaking, it was actually done during lockdown. The work that was done to the property, and from what I can tell of it, it's probably to a high standard. The actual work itself, but it did not have the benefit of a change of use from actually to previously from, it's a technical thing, from a solicitor's office, which is not a normal sort of office, to being sort of residential. I believe that was, in the meantime, must have been resolved. But I think one of the comments from the Borough Council at a previous time, I think when this all went through process of review, was that actually the external staircase, I think it had actually been added as part of the redevelopment, and as a fire escape, I guess. Although it could have been seen as an access, a separate access to the top floor. But anyway, certainly the local planning authority pretty well required the removal of an external staircase. And I think it states in the paper that actually the current owner bought this a year or two back and actually lives on site. And the kind of, as the landlord with a few other tenants there under supervision. So from what I can see of that, see of the proposals reflect what's pretty well there inside. I'd say it's good for approval. I do, and they're sort of putting right errors from the past of applying for change of use after the fact, making a conversion, bringing in a use, and then saying can we have a change of use, sort of retrospectively. And the answer, broadly speaking, was well, not really. But this application itself strikes me as a decent effort and probably a good outcome. And also, what's good is the amount of parking at the back. There's plenty of parking. I think the accommodation itself, based on previous experience of other properties, it will be a decent standard. So I'd say support the application, the approval of the application.
Okay, thank you. Terrace.
I can't understand why they want to get rid of the fire escape.
Well,
That
struck me as well.
Well, I know it, but the Borough Council stated, after it had been installed, that it was out of keeping and so forth. So that's a quarrel, if you like, that one could have with the Borough Council about it. But that was their decision, that was their ruling, and the applicant is basically going along with that. I see what you mean.
If you cast your mind back over the amount of meetings we've had over the last 5 or 6 years, how many times have we turned around and said it needs a fire escape because it's 3 floors?
Well, yes.
And now we're saying get rid of it. It's still 3 floors. If there's a fire on the first floor, how the hell is the person on the top floor going to get out?
Yeah, well, that's occurred.
I think it was put up there because they wish to in the grounds put various houses or flats so that there was no parking, and they made that a roof terrace on the top.
Right.
So that was a garden, and that was the access to the garden, and none of this had permission. And so when they've looked at it, they have said that it doesn't fit with the street scene, and that is why it got refused. Now all we're looking at here is that it says to remove that so that it can, so he'll get permission to enable him to have an HMO.
Well, I understand what you're saying, John, but at the same
I'm
time,
just reading what it says in the report.
I would say that we propose to refuse it for the simple fact that if there is a fire in that place, anybody who lives on the top floor has got no fire escape.
I'm not certain you can get out onto the fire estate if you look at it. What it is clearly is should not be there. It is not in the street scene, which is some of the comments that we make as this committee by saying the street scene. And that clearly is actually an eyesore.
Is it?
It
Oh, yeah,
is.
definitely.
Yeah, because there's nothing to the side of it. Anyway, I don't
on
know.
Google Maps,
can't you?
Marvelous, sorry.
Yeah, I think in terms of us responding to a planning application, I think what's being, the approval at the minute is, here in front of us, is for the change of use from the property, of the property from C3 to C4. I think the detail, remove the external staircase and use of roof terrace and return the external elevations back to their original appearance. I don't think that actually would require planning permission, would it? Maybe the clerk can enlighten me. I would have thought that they're not seeking planning application to remove a staircase that wasn't supposed to be there in the first place.
You might call it regularising the situation, but
Yeah.
realistically, if it hasn't got consent, removing it is what you've got to do.
They're just mentioning the fact that they're doing
I
that,
think it's
so
a
we're
positive
not,
statement within the
yeah,
application.
we're not in a position to object to them removing the staircase because we're considering a planning application. And I think essentially the planning application is just for the change of use, am I right?
That's how I interpret it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we move forward?
Well, I'd recommend that we support the application for the change of use. The rest of it is basically, as you said, it's to regularise the situation, recognise actually what the local planning authority stated previously.
May I just clarify?
Yeah.
Councillor Houston has very pragmatically in the past pointed out that we often submit no comments in that we have no objections. And only on occasion when it seems a highly positive application will we submit comments of support, and I'm just checking that do you want to submit no comments because this is not an application you have a concern over, or is it you actively want to support it?
Well, I'm proposing we support it because it's regular. There's, the work, the process that was undergone, that originally went through, was ignored. Right, and this is basically to regularise the situation and recognise the concerns of effectively the objections that the local planning authority made. So it's to bring it back in line with that. And the original use was just going to be for residents, very big residents. And now it needs that change of use, I would suggest, because we're talking about 5 or 6 tenants and other residents. I think it's a positive thing because there have been a lot of concerns in the area with the previous work. When previous work was taking place 3 or 4 years ago, there was a lot of discontent amongst in the area, and there were concerns and applications that were refused for other aspects which are now not relevant because
Okay, so we've got a proposal.
and there's plenty of parking and stuff like that and bin storage. It meets all those things which the original applications didn't some years ago. Yeah.
I'm a bit confused now. Sorry. So we've got in front of us an application for change of use from C3. So sorry, remind me what is C3? Is that
Just general accommodation.
General accommodation to
Residential.
C4. Now, I would maybe say that I would say that I would prefer it if we were just going to not make a comment, because I actually don't want any more multiple occupation in that area. So if we're supporting it, we're supporting an increase in multiple occupation, which I would be concerned about. I don't think that the planning officer is going to take much notice of us if we don't make a comment. You know, I don't think it's going to stop any legitimate reasons for the planning officer to decide that they would approve this. So I don't think there'd be a negative effect of us not making a comment, but I could see that there could possibly be a negative effect of us supporting it, or, you know, saying we agree with it.
I think because of the size of the place, there's always going to be a number of people living there. You're
Mm.
not just going to get your standard family, because it's a big place, you know.
It's not a house with a terrace, is it?
No, it's a very nice building, and I think with the owner living on the top floor, that kind of,
Well, this,
I don't know how.
I think we need, sorry, the application, as Melanie's pointed out, says it's a change of use, and they also propose to remove the external staircase,
Yeah.
because that was in the original reason why it got, one of the reasons it got refused, because of the staircase. So, we've got to, sorry, did you want to say something? Can I have more time to move on?
Just to move on.
Yeah,
Nothing, I was concurring with Marilyn, really. Do we want any more? And I also, is he saying he's living in there to make it passable and then he just moves? Because I think if a landlord lives there, then that has more sustainability and control.
Yeah.
But is he using that leverage to get it passed and then he moves on? We don't really want any more. We've had this conversation lots of times about what happens with multi-occupancy and all the rest of it and the problems they cause. So I'm on the fence with it, but I know we have to move forward because the application, like Marilyn just said, is about change of use and removing the tickets. That's the principle why we're here tonight. But will it then give the caveat, the okay for the rest of the application thereafter, or is that just an automatic pass? I don't know, that's a question. Is it? I don't know.
Well, it's obviously going to take us. We need to get a way forward.
Yeah.
We clearly have a concern about HMOs in the area, and it's in the area of Article 4 and all
Article 4, yeah.
So we
It
could
is.
we could make comment that we have that concern about that, couldn't we?
You could, you
But
can make whatever comment.
the simple one is to just say no comment.
Yeah.
But I think we need to just put about HMOs.
It's up to you as members. Do you have a proposal
I know,
to
and
submit
I'm
support?
trying to edge away from that proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I may just make
But
one
I'm
last-
happy, we have got it and we have to go forward with that initially.
Can I
But
make,
if you can find us a...
well, I'll give you a view, and I apologise. I really do believe it's for you to direct, and I apologise if this is in any way swaying. I would counsel quite a lot of caution about supporting the provision of an HMO. Whilst there's benefits to a regularisation of this site, which I accept, actively supporting an HMO with the Article 4 directives across the town recognising proliferation of HMOs can have negative social impacts quite widely, I think it will be very difficult to backtrack from that position. And I would have concern about that, but obviously members can do whatever you think. The option to make no comment is the passive approach, which is to accept the fact there's an improvement in the application in the site, and therefore not to put in any obstruction to that. The other option would be to object on the principle of HMO, as this committee has done generally, because the proliferation of HMOs isn't supported. I'll leave it to you.
What can I mean,
Are these apartments or bedsits?
It's
or-
HMOs, they're bedsits.
Yeah,
If you look at
yeah,
it,
I actually see.
layout.
I haven't got my long distance glasses.
Sorry,
on
if
me,
I can
so
make it a bit bigger
I
for you
wasn't
there.
sure whether it was.
the layout
just
is
bed. Yeah,
you get a room,
yeah.
and then the bathrooms are shared out onto the landings and things like that. And there's a shared kitchen here, so that makes it a house of multiple occupation because they're independent residences but shared amenity
Everywhere
space.
else, everything else.
An old speaker bed sets. Sorry, and then Dennis.
what I'd like to know then is, can you clarify, I've got the planning application stuff in front of me. Does the planning application actually include the removal of the external staircase and the returning external elevations to their original appearance, which was a request or requirement of the local planning authority? And that, if that's part of the application, that's something that I think we should welcome. You know, that it regulates the situation. Well, that's my view.
It does include removal of the staircase, which does bring that that elevation back to what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it improves the street scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be good.
If,
Right,
well,
Dennis
just
first.
to
Dennis
go
first.
back, I mean, the street scene's one thing, but actually, you know, like we've talked many times, it's just everything else, the debris that gets left, the dumping that gets, you know, what I'm saying is, I think, if anything, if we're allowed to comment that, which I bet we're not, that application should go through, provided the landlord actually continues to live there, then that's a bit more security, because he would oversee it, he's not going to, do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a possible thing.
It's not an
Exactly,
enforceable
it's
condition.
not. No, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. No,
Dennis.
no.
If this staircase wasn't on this application and it was just an application for change of use, what would we be saying? It's a free floor. How does the top person, if there's a fire, how does that top person, the person who lives there, how does he get down if there's a fire on the first or second floor? Because there's nowhere for them to escape. Now, I appreciate that it might be an eyesore, but at the end of the day, we'd be turning around and saying he needs somewhere to get out from. There's no fire escape there. If you forget about what, I know it's an eyesore, and I appreciate that, but we would be turning around and saying, no, because there's no fire escape for him. I'm baffled, I'm sorry.
I think
It's
I
clear, I think we're all-
what Dennis is saying. You know, if you could take this all sorts of ways. You could say no comment, which I think is really passive, and I don't think it's right. But that's up to the committee, obviously. Or you could positively support it for regularising something, which is my opinion. And then there's the other one. You say, well, actually, what is it? It'd be very interesting to know if there's been any comments yet from the fire authority and what they are.
Well, that's
There's no comments submitted yet, apart from environmental protection, which is about the operation for any works. Standard issue one. But you have a proposal on the table,
Yeah.
Chair. So
so we'll take the original
second
proposal,
of the
which does anyone second Steve's point, which is to
support the
recommend and
application.
support the application. Okay, so we'll go to a vote. All those in favour of that particular,
To support the application.
to support the application?
Okay.
All right, there's four. Is it four? Isn't it?
So that,
We
so
haven't voted yet.
There's three, four, so it's, you go to
So,
who's against.
who's against?
3 against.
It's not carried, so it's still four.
Well, then it falls to the chair to have a casting vote.
And
He didn't vote. I'm sorry,
I'm
but he didn't vote. So I mean, why can he have a casting vote?
Well, yes, a chair can, because if there's a matched vote, then the chair has the casting vote.
I see.
I mean, I thought that was what we do. If I
That's
hadn't,
fine.
I would vote.
That's your view.
I'm against supporting it.
Okay.
So I would
So-
like to propose no comment. Oh, well, okay. Perhaps that although we're not commenting on the application itself, the change of use, no comment on the change of use. Well, I'd rather just leave it and not get involved, to be honest.
So is it a proposal of no comment? Is that?
Yes, I was going to stick to that.
Okay.
Could we
Staircase is probably going to disappear anyway.
could we say that we're in favour of the staircase going, but we're not in favour, as far as I'm concerned, one, if it does become a house of multiple occupancy,
Yep.
then the top floor needs a way of escaping if there's a fire. If they want to get rid of the escape, the fire escape that they got there now, or the staircase, whatever you want to call it, then I'm not against that. But if it's going to become HMO, then I feel, as we've always said in the past, that there must be some form of fire escape there. I don't care how they do it. I just can't support it, as it is.
If I may, Chair, for regular, you've got another speaker, but
Yes,
then we need
sorry,
to, we do have a
waiting for-
proposal,
Yeah.
and then
I know, I was waiting for Dan to speak. Right, are you
Yeah,
going
similar
to...
to, yeah, because if you look at the staircase, there's no windows there anyway, so it's not really, it was for the purpose of the garden, that's why that was there.
Right.
So the staircase needs to come round where the window's accessible from the top. So they just want repositioning, so it's not the street view, it's the back view, so you can get, so basically, I'm concurring with Dennis. If we was to support it, you do need some fire escape of some description. That is a thing.
Sorry, we.
But that won't be planning, would it?
No,
Oh.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Chair. We've already said we're not supporting it.
well, we're not, no, no.
Right, so,
Yeah, I agree with that.
so we have a proposal now to make no comment.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Great, so then we'll need, if there's no seconder,
Yeah.
we'll need a proposal, then the alternative proposal, which I think, if I may,
Go on.
Dennis, suggest your proposal might be that we object to the proposal based on the concerns associated with safe egress in the event of an emergency or fire. Sorry,
I'm
Chair.
happy to second that. I think that's a fair proposal.
I'll propose what you just said.
Which
we have a
theoretically is-
second. Should we go to the vote then?
Yep.
Heard what they said. Who's in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you need those against, just for the benefit of the recording.
Do you want me to vote?
It's up to you, Chair.
I'm against.
Okay, and do we see all the hands there? Sorry. Yeah, anyone else against? No. Okay, so we got. I apologise. There we are. Thank you. So that's carried as a resolution to oppose the application on the grounds of safety and a bit more words.
Okay, next one. Thank you for that. 241341. Discharge of conditions at Bentley, new paint shop.
I can bring that up if you like, but it's a technical application. The conditions have been discharged, so it's entirely up to you if you want to go through those particular conditions. But it's showing that they've fulfilled the conditions of the previous plan
Yeah, no,
application
that's
associated.
straightforward then,
Are you okay with that?
yeah, that's straightforward.
Next one then, 241210. Erection of 7 dwellings, including pedestrian access, drainage, landscaping and associated infrastructure. This is, we've looked at this plot of land. This has a reduction of the original one had, I think, 8 or 9. Is it 8?
9.
9. This one is now 7. So we need to look at that because see what, if anything's changed, is there any parking or
There's no
is
parking.
Well, I've looked and there's no parking still. Well,
There's no parking. If well, that takes a while to load, 'cause it always does.
Oh well, Steve, do you want to set the
Well,
ball
I mean,
rolling?
Quite simple. I mean, it was 9 properties, 9 dwellings before, now it's 7, but otherwise it's not. So the smaller dwellings, always feel of them, but the basic objections that we put before still apply, because it's essentially about when they're saying people don't need anywhere to park, and there are no highway issues. Well, there still are, whether it's 9 houses or 7. So I'd suggest that almost we can make the same kind of objection as we did to the previous application, because it's this is essentially the same. I think.
Okay. Does anybody else want to echo what Steve said? Because
I can read out the past objections if you like. They may or may not all be relevant anymore.
is that okay? Yeah, okay then.
The previous application for 9, the comments were on a resolution to object that the proposals represent overdevelopment of the site, that the provision for waste bin storage is unsustainable, being at distance from some of the properties, and will lead to waste bins being left on the public highway and on street waste. That the site does not provide for safe vehicular access, the site does not provide adequate parking provision and does not meet Cheshire East planning policy associated with minimum parking provision of new developments. that the proposals do not provide for net biodiversity gain, contrary to Cheshire's planning policy. That, however, has been proven different through their documents in this application, by the way. The proposals do not provide for sustainable energy production, contrary to Cheshire's planning policy. That's still true. The issues of overdevelopment of the site will lead to loss of amenity for existing residences in terms of additional and obstructive on-street parking and on-street waste. I would suggest that biodiversity one has been addressed in this application. And then the rest, I think there's an argument for all the rest.
Do we wish to then?
You would, if you minded that that's still the case, then you would resolve to submit those objections to a new application minus the net biodiversity gain.
Is
Yeah.
that,
I propose that.
are you happy with
Yeah,
that?
I would,
Second.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's all.
I would, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
support that. Yeah, thank you. Right, 241199. The proposal is for the construction of 3 dwellings consisting of 2 3-bedroom semi-detached properties and 1 detached 3-bedroom bungalow. The bungalow is situated on land that was previously used as a working garage but not for several years. So is this classed as back?
Yeah, my notes on this say proposals could represent overdevelopment of the significantly restricted backland site. Development to the south-east elevation of properties off Rockwood Close would restrict light to existing residences. May create a loss of amenity for existing residences to the north-east and south-east of the site due to their overbearing nature. And there's concerns relating to access off Stewart Street for a new residential development of multiple units. So that's a neighbour comment about loss of light.
Right, yeah. So I think we should look at 2. One, what was on that side, and
Yeah.
one the proposed
Yeah.
to put on, because I noticed it. I think when we made comment before, we made comment of overdevelopment, because this isn't the first time an application's come in. I think they withdrew it in the end,
I don't remember, I'm sorry.
if I remember rightly.
It'll appear in a moment. It's exciting.
I tried getting on this internet here at the beginning of the meeting and I couldn't get on it.
I'm sorry about that. No, the internet's fine. It's an old computer we use just for this room. It's very, very slow. It will get there eventually. We should really get another computer, but it just seems a bit excessive.
No way.
Exactly.
That's a government.
Yeah, it seems like
Is
spending.
that on the agenda then for next week?
It's not, no. It's coming now. Nearly there.
That goes to F&G, that's what I do want.
In fact, that one I tried to load up at home and it took
Put some more
Took
coal
an
on the
age.
fire.
took an age,
There might be big files, I don't know.
because it's coloured. And it comes up. Perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned it. Could you get it up, any of your colleagues on the phones?
Cost me,
Oh, it don't cost you anything to go on the internet either.
I'm guessing, doesn't it?
While we're waiting for that, could we move on to the next one?
No, yeah, we did.
Well,
We need to
out of the frying pan into the fire, if you're gonna burn it.
Well, I'm connected.
While we're waiting for it, did you say that we've made comments before? I'm just wondering.
There's different, I can't remember, but we have made, there's been an application coming before for that site. And I think it was objected for overdevelopment, and I'm also, they withdrew it
Mm.
Meant they've come back with this.
Have they come back with something smaller, do we think? When it
Yeah,
says, it says 2 3-bedroom semis, do they mean two houses
Yeah.
which are semis?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
That's
exactly.
what they mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Not 4 dwellings?
that's right.
Yeah, 2 dwellings.
Yeah.
So
It's
there's
3
two-
dwellings in total.
I mean, it's a street that has got quite a few semis or terraces. Some of them will be 3 bedrooms.
yeah.
And then we've got this detached 3-bedroom bungalow, which is on the site of the previous working garage. So you would think that that's a reasonable size site for a bungalow. I mean, in a positive way, I would welcome in that area a bungalow. We get very few applications for bungalows, don't we? Usually they want to do townhouses to get
Yeah,
as many
yeah.
people in as possible.
So that's as it is now.
Yeah.
So that side there, access from
Stuart Street.
Stewart Street, past the original house, because obviously it's a big house and it's in the garden of,
Quite a big
looks
house.
like several gardens, if you look. So that's where the garage and the business was.
Yeah.
The next picture, which
Might come up.
hopefully we'll
Still
get in
waiting
10
on.
minutes, will give us the layout of the two on one side and the bungalow on the other, and we'll be able to the resident who's objected at 23 will get where that house is in compared to the two properties or 3 properties. It just appeared, didn't it? You wait that long, at least.
Yeah, I don't know.
By magic.
I don't know why it's taking that. Effectively, there's a bungalow here on the drawings with parking spaces to the side, and then on this side there's a semi-detached pair of units here with parking either side. Access down here between the house and the fence line, and there's a little bit of a pull in there to allow for a turn circle. Let's see if it's back.
See, we'll get it up. Need to see that because it'll indicate whether it looks like they put a bungalow which will be lower nearer the houses and the 2-storey houses to the side to try and. There we go. Yeah.
So that's the bungalow there. This is Rockwood Close with the houses here, and the concern about these houses creating an overshadowing or loss of light in the morning sort of concept there.
The resident is at 23, so that's like opposite to the driveway.
So it would be directly, well, indicates south of their property, which is understood to be that. But there is, it could be argued, a distance between that. It may not.
Is that a garage there? It's quite a way.
Yeah, there's a garage here on their back garden there.
Yeah.
Access down driveway. So it is a distance away. So it's considering whether you feel that the access and the development site is appropriate. There is a welcomed bungalow. I agree with Councillor Houston on that one. And those houses will be appropriately scaled for the site. They come with gardens and parking. But it is a tight site and it is a backland development.
Is it a single road into it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a
It's
single-
shared with the
Yeah.
house, won't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to make anything, say anything about it with it being in your ward?
Well, I'm looking on my phone, so I can only look. I had to close what I was looking at to look at them. So where we've got that's the semi-detached house.
Yeah.
And that's the bungalow, and
Yeah.
this is a road that,
Access road.
access road that exists at the moment, I
Yeah,
presume?
to some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's,
Because if there was a garage there would have been an access road. Now, is this somebody,
that's a
Does
private
this-
dwelling house. Yeah.
private dwelling house belonging to the same person or somebody
I
else?
couldn't answer that. I don't know.
Because where they do the boundary, that was on a separate slide, wasn't it? I mean, this house, is that included within the piece of land that is owned by the same person?
Well, they're showing the site
Is it
plan
all-
as red line drawing there.
Yeah, yes, that isn't a red line, is it?
No,
So-
no, it's just showing as a
So
site
that's
boundary.
a different piece of land. That's
Mm.
you know, it's not within the footprint of.
No,
This
I'll flick to the
application.
other one, that might be clearer. So
Yeah.
it's showing the site, the application site is including that original property there.
Right. So this is all one parcel of land that
Yeah.
currently has got presumably a semi-detached house. on
Yeah,
it.
it's a large
Yeah. And so it was a business at the back.
Yep.
And a house at the front, and that house is still there, and presumably is owned by the person who wants to build at the back.
I
Because it's
suppose,
all.
Who's put the application
Yeah.
in?
there you go, applicant
Yeah.
is that address.
Yeah, the application is by the person at 111,
Yeah.
which that one is.
So you're not asking to come past a piece of land and a dwelling that belongs to somebody else to come to the back here, are you? I think that's significant.
What was the number of the house that made the comments?
23.
24.
They're back
That one
here.
there.
That's
Yeah.
the one
And
that's...
they're,
Oh, no, sorry, that one.
That one.
they're saying that the bungalow, the bungalow itself will be higher than the original garage building,
They are, yeah.
which,
You want to wait for them to
Wouldn't-
arrive, there are elevations you can look at.
yes,
It's a
is
standard
it
bungalow
more of
elevation.
a dormer bungalow then, or?
No, it's a bungalow, it's a proper bungalow. But
Yeah.
I haven't got the dimensions of the existing garage. It might be a
Yeah.
smaller shed or a flat roof.
Yeah. I can understand that where somebody had a patch of land at the back of their house and the sun was coming through, they aren't going to be happy, and it is going to affect their amenity, their enjoyment, quality of life, and that if then a building is put there that is, they're asking for change of use from commercial property. What would be the original use?
That is commercial property, yes. It's been long
Yeah.
standing business
Yeah.
in that
You
space.
see, if a business if they wanted to if they decided not to do the change of use to residential but they kept it commercial, they could put another building on there, couldn't they? That would
Well,
block
with
their
planning
light as
consent,
well.
within that boundary, we require planning consent.
Yes,
Yeah.
with planning consent. You know, the fact that it's currently got consent for commercial use wouldn't stop somebody applying to put a workshop or an office, not office,
Small
some
house.
sort of business building related to a business on there. So it's basically a site that currently really isn't being used, and we've got a housing shortage. And is it classed as a brownfield site?
It will be brownfield site and it will be windfall development in that context of additional accommodation. And the bungalow would be in that mix, positive.
Yeah.
On the one that's going to be, is it suggesting that
on Stuart Street. I was trying to work out where it is.
111 has a rear garden? So I'm sure that house has a garden there.
Yes, there is a rear garden.
So that line there, is that a fence?
That's a fence there, yeah. It's going to take
Because
ages.
clearly the people that wish, if they're for a sale,
That's
So the 111 is the owner of the property.
they're the applicant, yeah.
Yeah,
I can't guarantee they're the owner, but it's likely.
yeah, yeah,
so that would be a garden
yeah.
Yeah.
for 111,
Yeah.
and that road,
Hard standing at the
And
front
then-
by the looks of it.
so
And it's got parking.
Yeah,
It's got parking spaces. There's plenty of parking, isn't there?
yeah.
Those little.
6 cars there.
right, so we've looked at it now.
Yeah,
Is it,
Marlin
it's
is
not that road down
in
there, is it?
support of it, I think.
It seems like the people are comfortable with it.
Oh,
And
right. But it's not that down
If
there.
it's a standard bungalow and
Is it-
there's a workshop in that
Oh,
corner
no, it's on the other side of the road.
that's there, that bungalow, the top of that bungalow
Oh, it's this
roof
side,
is only going to be about 4 or 5 foot taller than the original building.
Because do you know where Rockwood
That's the
Avenue
top
is?
of the roof, I'm talking
If
about.
you were going
Not
down
the physical
Stewart
height of the
Street
bungalow
towards
itself.
where your
Right.
garage is,
Can
you
you
go
share-
left before
Can you
get
share
to
with
there.
us, colleagues?
Yeah, sorry.
Anything
We're,
you wish to
we're
share?
trying to look on our phones
Yes,
at
they
the
roughly
planning
where it is,
application.
yeah. It's just make it easier to
We're a
understand.
bit like teenagers.
I may not comment. Can we, in the interest of the meeting, can we move forward on this?
Oh, right, it's,
You were broadly supportive of that application.
Well, I certainly wouldn't object to it.
So,
Is it no comments or?
so let's go on that one.
Yeah.
Let's be
see it
support.
now, the-
If you're going to support it, support it. Can we just get, so we can, for clarification, can we get that right?
That's,
Where's the bungalow?
Those are seven. Well, I'm found the bungalow yet.
Income.
No plans for the bungalow.
I haven't found it yet. They haven't got all of there. Sorry.
that's close to your house.
It might be a very big bungalow.
It's fairly modest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't look big, does it?
Looks like a garage.
Right there, now that's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So,
Am I submitting no comments?
If
Very
bungalow
strict.
roof on the garage, that's what they've done.
I propose no comment.
I'll second that.
Vote? Sorry.
Okay.
Can't come in.
go on, no, I don't mind, Go way along.
What?
Okay then, so we submit no
Are
comment.
we all happy?
Yeah.
All happy, no comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You put your phones away
It's a
now.
bit feeble, that is, if you ask me.
Okay, next one, 241185. I would like this to be put up, please.
Yeah.
Because there is a comment by an individual, and I just would like you to get us to understand what that means. And also, where it says installation of new ASHP within an existing fence compound, it actually says in the write-up that if it sort of tweaks out of it, we'll make the fence round it. To
It'll
fit.
still be within the fence then, wouldn't it?
Exactly, but that isn't what it's suggesting there, it's saying in the existing fence compound.
Yeah.
Not we'll fit a fence round it if it's actually extended. Just want to clarify because the individual from 13 Scott Avenue,
Oh,
Ah.
oh, I wonder who that
Well, I object to misspelling of what I presume is installation. I think the very least they could do is get their planning application
well that
in.
might be a local issue that, so let's leave it.
Or is it, are they turning, is it something to do with salt?
No, it's a typo, isn't it?
That's a lie.
Aye.
Okay, can we get
Shoot the secretary. Go on. Next time.
Well, we're
tell you
waiting
what
to
you
load
said
it.
to me tonight.
For clarity, ASHB, air source heat pump.
Yeah, so the comments made by the
That's on that one there. It's coming. Right.
right. So do you wish me to read it?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
Yeah, because it says the Pearson tender drawing number 8002, I won't read the rest, dated January, is erroneous in showing the location of the new history centre where Christ Church exists. This is important as the feed shown across the former churchyard and in brackets archaeology. The new history centre is some distance further north on the other side of Crewe Street, facing the municipal building / market hall, which on previous drawings are also shown connected to this feeder. The drawing 8002 M004 Ref T1 needs correcting as stated, and this planning application resubmitted. Someone please explain.
Well, I think 13 Scott Avenue might be a better place to explain that one to you.
Because when I looked at the drawings, they were all within there, and have we
Do you think
not
it's
got all
correct
the
that the
drawings?
drawing is wrong and they've mislabelled?
We haven't got those. I don't know. But you see, new mesh fence to match existing to create compound.
Right. That fence line there is the existing one that we can see out of our window, and they're suggesting to section off a section there, so this area can't be accessed. This is where currently this is where the bikes are stored if the workers in the lifestyle extension have bikes or whatever, and they're moving them there, so they're making this a less accessible area for general workers than that. So that's why it's fenced off there.
So they're extending the fence that's there at the moment.
Yeah, but inside
Yeah.
the perimeter,
Yeah.
not outside the perimeter.
Yeah.
But I can't explain the residents' comments, I'm afraid.
Have we not got a map that shows, like they say, what that drawing that they're quoting, is that not on there?
I don't think it is.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't work out what it related to. But that doesn't make that might well be just my error.
I just didn't understand.
Can't you just look out the window?
The site visit.
But clearly he's referring to another application. We haven't seen one, have we?
No.
Because sorry, Marlon.
If we were minded to not to object to it, whilst we've got no objections to it, the comments made by that person, would we suggest that they be investigated?
If you like it.
Obviously quoting the address. A comment from the member of the public, da-di-da, which
I can't see a problem with that if they're moving the fence within the existing boundary line. Because it seems
I agree.
they're pushing the fence back.
Well, there's no change to the boundary at all. It's the elevation is changing in the sense that they're going to put some additional plant equipment now. The AHSP is going to be visible, so that's the basis of a plan application, is a change of the visual layout of that elevation. So in terms of that, it's across the road there, and it's not going to have any heritage impact or anything like that. It doesn't concern me, but equally those comments of 13 Scott Avenue are, their own comments.
Okay.
Whatever they mean.
All right. So we have a suggestion. You're going to add those
There we
comments.
submit no
We're
comments
not
of concern, but that the plans must
Please
investigate the
explain.
comments submitted by a resident of 13 Scott Avenue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. 241125. Change of use. Class C3 to a children's home use, Class C2. 257 Walthall Street.
So what's C2?
That's it's accommodation supported for children. So it's a residence right now, a standard residence, and then it's for use as an institution, I think is the phrase in the description.
Similar to what we had in Catherine Street, that was
Yeah,
C3
it is.
to C2.
Yeah.
So this is C3 to C2 again, but this is clearly a children's home.
Yes.
So we have a number around the area.
Is there anything more you want to see off that?
I think it's a bit of a terrace.
It is, yeah.
Is it?
This property here. It's what it is really.
Isn't it?
Which means whether it's the consideration of the location, is it appropriate? It's well, the drawings just show the layouts of bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchen utility, dining and living room space. So it's not an overly dense occupation. No, there's 3 bedrooms put into it. No amendments to the elevations.
So that's not where people live in with them.
There will be, there will have to be someone living in, but they might not sleep over, so they'll be staying in the living and dining
Three bed.
accommodation downstairs. There's no indication of an office, but that doesn't mean they can't work while they're there.
Right, does anyone make any
I
comments?
just wondered, is it retrospective or is it not?
It doesn't say retrospective, so I don't think so.
So what would you just been
I don't know if it'd be flats,
Flats
or
or,
bed sits, or
or
if it was a
normal,
single
yeah.
accommodation. I couldn't tell you. It's changing its use from residential, so they're not trying to subdivide. They're just saying it's you can use this house, this one residence, as one residence, but supported. So an institution concept.
Yeah.
What sort
Seating.
of age group is it?
it'd be in
I haven't read anything that indicates that.
it'd be in that
Up
this impact statement, will it not?
Ah,
Yes, Mark.
in the application, it says, the property is currently under planning class C3. We are proposing to use the property as a children's home C2. The home is currently operating as a supported accommodation registered with Ofsted.
So,
10 to 17.
so that'll be as in
Catherine Street.
where you drop your children off.
No, it's where children
Ofsted.
Sorry.
Well, Ofsted would be educational, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So they look at houses, don't they? Where because in Walthamstow there is two, to my knowledge, where they take them between 3 and 11 or 10 or whatever it is,
They inspect children's homes.
and
as
they
well,
have to
don't
be
they?
inspected, yeah, as
Yeah.
such. Well, this is suggested. It would
Used
say
to,
that.
used to be one in Hungerford Road.
Yeah, it's two to my knowledge in Walthamstow.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually saying it's a to have a residential on each 24 hours a day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It
Which is-
seems, sorry if I may, Chair,
Sorry.
reading this, what's in front of me, it's because, I mean, we would welcome the fact that such a accommodation was actually registered with Ofsted when we want it inspected, because there's been problems in the past where these homes haven't been inspected. So they're saying that it is registered with Ofsted at the moment as supported accommodation, and to meet the requirements of registration as a children's home, we require C3 planning. Well, no, it's got C3 planning at the minute.
You see through the minute, yeah.
Right, I think they've put that. I think they've described that wrongly, but it suggests that there are children living there or young people who are supported, and in order to be registered with Ofsted, they've put this application in. So it's to suggest it may be retrospective.
That's why I asked, because
Does it
some
say-
comment from Ward Councillor that it might be, or that there was something already in place there, and obviously, based in part upon what's been said there.
Does it say in there what it is at the minute? Is it a residential or is it just where basically childminding at the minute?
It's not for young children. It says that the home is currently used as supported accommodation for 3 young people aged between 16 and 18. Young people
Right.
are supported by adults through the day, for their social and emotional.
It says 10 to 17.
And the home will be provided care and support to able to achieve positive outcomes and all aspects of their lives. So they're formalising
Yeah.
it to enable.
Yeah, it's not an area of my expertise. I can't.
No, well that's what it's suggesting there, isn't it?
It's suggesting it's kids
Yeah,
10 to 17 years, yeah. I agree.
Right.
But as a planning committee,
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So that's no more than 3 children, doesn't it? So it's not going to be, there's plenty there, isn't it?
It's 3 children, there's
Yeah,
3
no
bedrooms.
more than 3 children, so that seems okay, really. Especially with it being Ofsted.
I know in the past when because we've had a number of these applications, and in various streets within Crewe South, particularly Chambers Street, Ellison Road, Lawton Street, you name it, and we've objected, saying is it the right area for some of the children, you know, the fact that you're not far off houses of ill repute and various other things and various activities that go on in Crewe South. However, to look at it as they just look at the accommodation and so on. And I don't think they refuse any when it's come down the line.
Not that I recall, no.
So
Well, if it's the sort of children that
they need support.
I know through Hungerford Road, then they need all the help they can get. So I'd like to propose that we support it.
Is that general?
Yeah, definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, Howard? Okay,
yeah.
right, thank you. Well, for these next two might be a bit quicker. 240397, remove glazed conservatory, etc. and build an extension of the rear of the semi-detached. This will form disabled persons facility at ground floor level and provide sleeping quarters and wheelchair access. Again, this is Cheshire East, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a silly application. It's in a site that can accommodate it. It's in scale. There is some scale to it, to be fair, but it's providing accessible accommodation.
As the ward councillor for the area, I'm aware of the need for this planning application and would very much like to support it.
There's one house already been converted down that street already, as I know of, and that was done 20 years ago under Crewe and Nantwich Borough Council.
Okay, so we okay to support that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
I'll give Gary that. Next one then, 241390, single storey rear extension. Is this?
That's it's very much in keeping. It's nothing to worry about on that
No.
hiding spot. Unless someone else has seen something I haven't seen.
It's true, yeah. That's straightforward.
Straightforward.
Yeah, that's straightforward, yeah.
We all right then, shall we
Yeah,
move
we
on?
are, yeah.
Swiftly?
Yeah.
Excellent. 241259, now this might take a little bit. Demolition of existing building and the erection of 5 townhouses and auxiliary works, 37 Stafford Street. This is on the grounds of a redundant church.
Yeah.
I guess it would have originally had houses in Stafford Street, wouldn't they? Will they not? Terraced houses, will they not come down?
Yeah, they used to, yeah.
Way back.
It's restoring the heritage of the town, isn't it?
This is a relatively new church as well, this is.
Yeah, it's been,
Yeah, it's modern-ish building, isn't it?
Yeah.
when we saw it recently, it looked like it had been derelict for quite a while.
Transferred for a long time.
Was it carpet wear?
Right. We have lift-off colleagues, proposed first floor and second ground floor plans on the site.
Effectively traditional 2 up, 2 down tree. Simple those.
Does it look alright? Size-wise, what we're looking, because it can be deceptive.
Yeah, it's not clear, and our friend at 64 Bedford Gardens has raised a concern about the technical housing standards.
What's he saying? The floor area for each dwelling doesn't appear to conform to the National Technical Housing Standard. Please can the officer measure these, and if they don't comply, amend plans to be sought to ensure they meet future residents. Right.
That's a street scene.
So that is what, I guess, something like what would have been there originally.
Right.
Which again is comments we make about the street scenes and so on. It's just, is it overdeveloped, I think is the word.
Yeah, it's it should there be four and a little bit bigger, or is that appropriate? I'm sorry to say I haven't got a strong view on it. It's reusing the site and providing affordable accommodation
Are the
in an accessible
rooms all within?
We don't know. That's the problem. I tried measuring them as well. I couldn't quite work it out. But that's the site there. So the houses are a little bit set back, and then we've got gardens there. You can see bin storage.
And parking for 2 cars,
Yeah.
each property.
So it's off-street parking. I didn't see it as an awful. I didn't see it as an awful application. The issues could well be that the rooms don't meet minimum technical housing standards, which I think 64 Bedford Gardens has identified and raised correctly.
Usually, yes.
And then again, I agree with the points. There's no solar panels on them and no EV charge points. But that's right.
Quite easy to put solar panels on there because it's facing west, isn't it? So,
Yeah, that's the west side there.
yeah.
So it's more trying to be consistent on that policy, which is within Cheshire's local plan. So it's not an evil development at all. But is it a little bit overdeveloped? Maybe the rooms are too small. But they've provided parking, provided amenity space, and they've provided them in a sustainable location.
Easy enough, build 6 instead of 7, make them bigger.
Well, there's 5 on there, so you've won 4 of them.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you're not
Yeah.
meeting minimum standards, then I don't
I think we need to put that point in, don't we?
Yeah.
About,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's no way we could measure that and say
No.
that they are. If we're inserted, I
Would
think
you
we
actually
should.
read out my notes on it? That might help. That's okay.
Have you made some?
I've made some
Well,
notes, yeah.
share them now for the committee.
The provided plans do not clearly demonstrate compliance with the minimum technical housing standards for living space, and this should be confirmed. The proposals do not provide for demonstrable net biodiversity gain. I don't think there's an awful lot to prove there, to be fair, but a bird box will solve that. The proposals do not provide sustainable energy production, roof-mounted PV panels on site, and demonstrable provision of EV charge points and cycle infrastructure is not shown on the proposals.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Anybody wish to add anything to that? Are we happy with
Yeah, we
to
are.
submit along those lines?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. 241279, non-material amendment, demolition of existing Hunters Lodge. So what's that? Anything?
That is, they proposed at one unit 2 flats in a house, a downstairs flat and upstairs flat. They're proposing that is now a single dwelling rather than separate it out to flats.
Right.
They're saying it's non-material change. It does change the residence mix, but not significantly developed at that scale. So
Okay.
I didn't see any objections. I had no knowledge of any reason to object.
I object to having to look at it.
Well, there is that. We objected to the proposals early on, but now we're talking about a different aspect in planning, which is a non-material change. Now, I suggest it is fairly non-material.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Next one then, another discharge of condition 12. Outline application for mixed-use development, David Whitby Way. Is that anything to?
Application. Oh, yeah, that's just discharge of condition associated with the materials being used and how it's presented. So the condition has been met, the planning condition has been met.
Right.
Right, so the discharge in that condition.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay.
Next one then. 241266. The proposed application is for the erection of a temporary 2,000mm high block and mesh fencing to the perimeter of level ground adjacent to Victoria Street and Queensway and following boundary line to the newly constructed access road leading from Victoria to Delamere Street.
It's the same as what's there, I'm going to put up.
Yep, the,
I'd, excuse me, I'd prefer it to be the panelling that they had originally, the white panelling that the contractors used in the first place. But I suppose it depends on how long it's going to be up for, because this says up to 18 months, up till next February, doesn't it?
I do know a bit about this.
Yeah.
From having been informed by officers at Cheshire East. The principle is that they had intended to put up longer term fencing because they couldn't identify the current use for that space. I understand that they've been directed to seed the space now for grass and make it accessible rather than fenced off.
Right.
So, which is, I would say, quite appropriate. Create green space and then put it behind a fence that no one can get through seems a little bit of a negative action. So the principle of this application is so that they can keep the current Harris fencing in place whilst that area is levelled, seeded and a path put in.
Right.
And then the Harris fence will come down and the space will be accessible until it gets its permanent use. So that's the principle, that it's temporary and it's
Okay.
not meant to be high cost. You're suggesting it should be
Yes.
returned to hoardings while that goes on.
Well, it says there 12 to 18 months. If it's going to be there for 12 to 18 months, I think you need something more than mesh fencing. But if it's going to be as quickly as you say it's going to be done, that it's going to be seeded and grassed and a pathway put in, it will take 18 months to build to do all that.
I'm not arguing
That's
that. They're providing a period of time,
Yes.
maximum of 18
All
months.
I'm
so they can
commenting
also-
on is the 12 to 18 months time that they're suggesting they want to keep that fence up for.
Yeah.
That's my only comment. If it's going to be down after 3 or 4 months, I haven't got a problem.
Well,
with
to
it.
be fair on you, you're right. It could be up for up to 18 months.
Yes.
I perceive that they'll seed it and pull it down, but that doesn't make it a fact.
No.
So you're welcome to make comment to try and reduce that risk.
Depends how quick the grass grows.
If it's seeded,
Very quickly.
how long does grass seed take to grow up?
One season, it'll be,
Yeah.
if you seeded it today, you'd have solid grass by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Especially when you have it where you don't want it, it goes overnight.
Yes, well, after Mr. Hopper seeded the name, we didn't.
I think what we,
And just a few months ago,
Pigeons eat the seeds.
but where they don't eat it, it's densely packed.
as I walk past from the bus station, the Tempe bus station tonight, there's some very heavy equipment on there that are flattening the land, and it looks like there's heaps of soil
Topsoil,
today.
yeah. They'll have to dress it.
They're doing that. I think that any comment that I personally would want to make is that as soon as practical, that fence needs to come down, because we all have concerns about that particular site. You know, it was going to be more, and we have to accept it is what it is. But we don't want it fenced up. We don't look like some
No.
shanty town, do we? You know, if we're going to have grass on there, and maybe, you know, the sooner that you do that on the path. And I think, because, you know, let's be honest, people criticise this, that and the other, but we as planning have always said what we will try and do is get the qualities of the buildings, or make crew better, you know, with what we've got. And I don't think any form of fence helps that. So I would like, you know, that we put some comment in about the speed is of the essence. Because the 12 to 18 months,
It's too long.
it's like saying we might get something on there.
I agree.
Well, it's no mites about it. We
Well,
can get the grass,
something
get the
there,
plant,
but
and
what
have
is it?
people using that. You know.
It's, the question is, what is going to be there?
Well, that's not for us, but
No,
but
originally it was rumoured that it was going to be paved and grassed, and play equipment were put in there for toddlers, and pop-up shops would appear there, and one thing and another. In the meantime, But I mean, if
Well-
they're just going to put a pathway through it and grass the whole area, then you're not going to get pop-up shops, are you?
Right, so we
Yeah, but
somebody
you are,
somewhere
yeah.
near that.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm concurring with everybody, but I mean, what I'm saying is, why do we have to wait for seeds? Why can't you just, you know, the lawn goes down?
Money.
It's
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah, do you see
Are you
it?
talking about turf?
Yeah, turf, sorry,
I would,
yeah.
I would suggest
Is that too
it,
expensive?
one is way more expensive. Two,
Is
it fails more as well.
Oh,
So
does it?
by seeding the area, it will
Right.
take a little bit of time to grow, but you'll
Right.
get a more sustainable approach.
Right, fair enough.
Throwing down turf, you'll find out all the areas you make because there'll be swathes that will die off.
Right, fair enough.
And if you have a dry spell, it'll all die off
I
as well.
suppose.
So it is seeding it. I would recommend is the
It's
correct
better.
way. So
Right, fair
they're
enough.
going. I can't argue with them on, but I'll try and
No.
argue with Cheshire East over most things, but that's what I won't. argue.
Right, fair enough. But the fence situation, I agree with everybody seeing it, and also, if it's left too long, a fence is you're going to get debris, you're going to get all sorts. It's just going to look a bit.
So,
it needs to be quick.
I've made note that whilst the committee doesn't object to the proposals, it seeks that the fence is removed at its earliest opportunity and far in advance of 12 to 18 months as suggested.
100%, yeah.
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 That's my only comment, is
Yeah.
that Cheshire East are making me believe that there's going to be a fence there for anything up to 18 months. And if we're lucky, it'll be down in 12.
Well, we
That's how I look at that
Right.
bit of a paragraph there, and it's a bit misleading if anything. If somebody in the ward read that, the first thing they'd say is, we don't want a fence around that area for the next 18 months.
well, I think we made some comment that speed is of the
Yeah.
essence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got Steve want to say something. You say something.
No,
Steve first, then you,
speed
man.
is
Then
of the essence, and the sooner that there is a verdant, lush, verdant area which people can enjoy, the better. And
right, capture
it
that.
can also
Lush
be possible
verdant.
within 6 months, I would have thought.
Go on.
By
No,
the
we're
end
going
of
to
the
say.
season.
We're moving on. Madeline.
I'm not taking part in the discussion and declaring an interest in that. I'm a Cheshire East councillor and the application is on behalf of Cheshire East.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll leave it at lush verdant.
Lush and verdant, please.
Whereas the pigeons don't go
Right.
there.
Thanks for that, colleagues.
That's where the mesh comes
I'm mindful of the time, so we'll move on quickly. Item 6, to consider making responses for any urgent planning application that's arisen since the agenda. And the first one is 24-11007, coffee shop and office to restaurant, 33 Market Street and 3 Chester Street. This is, can we read this with 240629?
You can.
Change of use from 1 to 3 Chester Street, very confusing.
It is. I think we'll find, members, that we can't comment on this because
Oh,
the documents don't appear for either of them. Let me
No,
just
I-
double
I
check.
No, I looked at that as well. I found the same
629.
thing.
So I think we should object. I would advise objecting to both applications based on lack of clarity of address and lack of clarity because there's no documents there.
Yeah.
Well, when was it received, actually?
Well, that one was received.
That was quite recent.
last week.
Then
I suggest they look.
16th of April. Registered.
what was the one? 1107.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's
11th was the 5th of April.
There's no previous planning applications for this. is
Well, there is, yeah.
yeah.
230105 was associated with this, and we objected to that.
Will you find the documents on that?
No.
No, it's a different application.
Is it?
We can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I
All
think,
right, so let's move on then.
well, no, I mean, I think that there's obviously some, the previous application to which we may have objected on grounds of that dealt with more than just this. This only as far as one can tell, only refers to the ground floor, something that's actually in situ already, at 33 Market Street 1 Chester Street and 3 Chester Street, which is where the kitchen is. So it's to regularise something that's, and some of that was there before anyway.
Yeah.
The rest of it, that previous application, I'm sure that dealt with the upstairs and...
It did, but it was on the same site. It was more. Well, I did say we can't comment on that basis because it's a different application.
No, but as I say, this is just a simple change of use. One would have thought there must be an application form. Because
Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing was listed. We can't see it. We can't comment.
Can't see anything.
There we are. Yeah, but that was only submitted. The thing is, that first one that says 33 Market Street, 33 Market Street was Graziella's, which was a cafe anyway, so there's no change of use to that because it was used for food purposes. Number 1 is the next bit along, which was almost certainly a preparation area or something before. So the only thing that's really new is the kitchen, which is actually at number 3, which is then next up is the Slovakian shop, and then like that. So there's some. I suspect that the second one is the more accurate. And it may be that the officers are pursuing, the Cheshire East officers are having to pursue the applicant, saying, well, let's clarify what you're actually after.
Okay.
But if we'd have got those plans up, we could make comments
Yeah.
one way or the other. At the moment, we're speculating.
Yeah.
So let's move on. 240362. Look at that, they've got some money, haven't they? New glazed atrium entrance to front of existing college building, Danebank Avenue.
Well, whilst it's an impressive proposal, it doesn't materially make much difference to the car park. The faces on the side. It looks very posh, yeah.
Should we take that as read?
Well, I would suggest there's not an awful lot to add value to
there
that.
isn't.
Yeah.
Right, next one then.
Yeah, absolutely.
241388. Variation of condition 2 and 3 on an application of a single storey rear extension.
I went through this and I couldn't really identify much difference. It's the materials being used on this extension and the colour of the frame and the brick, and it really it didn't make it. The two different drawings I put them side by side. I couldn't really notice any difference. So I would suggest it's not.
Does anybody wish to make any comment
Suggest we move on.
on the application? We're going to say
Yeah.
okay. No, all right. Thank you, Dennis. We'll move on then. 7 to note responses submitted to the delegation. We have none.
No, it's
8
Yeah.
to note or consider correspondence, etc. Planning policy. 8.1 Cheshire East local plan review consultation.
Yeah, the Cheshire East local plan is subject to review, as all local plans are. So they've started the process of letting us know they're going to review their local plan, and have we got any comments to make associated with that? Obviously, they've got to go through the whole process. It's borough-wide, not just Crewe. In the past, we've indicated as a council would be keen to see a full master plan for Crewe as the principal town of the borough. And so I'm suggesting, unless anyone's got additional comments or they don't agree, that as well as supporting the need for sustainable development in the town and focused investment, that we promote the concept of the council's said in the past that there should be a master plan for Crewe. And a master plan in a planning context, not just a strange
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
8.2 street trading application, Victoria's Bakery.
I sent out in the pack the information associated with that. I can't remember much about it now, I apologise. The location is a site we've looked at in the past for development as a house, wasn't it? And
It was a house and
declined.
garage
Yeah,
in Minchley Road.
Minchley Road.
Yes, I thought we looked at that before.
We have.
Yeah.
It's for use as a commercial bakery, and I have got comments from a ward member. James Pratt has submitted comments on this to Cheshire East, but also sent them to me for the planning committee, so I'll share those. There's points that James feels need considering. One, the site is directly adjacent to residential properties. How will this affect the amenity of the area and nearby residents? The business will operate just metres away from neighbouring residential properties, either side of it and behind. It's likely that the operation of the business will cause noise and disturbance to neighbours, not only from the operation of the business itself, but customers being on site. 2, lack of parking. There is already an issue with on-street parking in this location. Further vehicles coming and going and parking on the street will make the issue worse, as well as causing disturbance to neighbouring properties. It is likely that the target customer for the site will be tradespeople working nearby building the new homes in Leighton West near the hospital. They will need to come to and from the trading site in their vehicles. Number 3, provision of waste disposal for customers. This area already has a high level of littering, and this type of trading will exacerbate the problem. What are the provisions for waste disposal and requirements to the surrounding area to be kept litter free? And it goes on to say, I do wonder if this is a suitable location for this type of operation in such a small space bordered by residential properties. There is already a Morrison's local store selling the same items 200 metres away from this site. I'll point out it is already a commercial space. It operated as a garage, I think, previously, so it's not a residential space in and of itself. No, on this you can make no comment to the consultation on licensing. You can make positive comment, negative comment, whatever you want to do.
Does anybody want to make any form of comment
I
on
think
it?
he's already said it.
And those have already been submitted to
Yeah.
Cheshire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
No.
right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one then. Just facts in it. Proposed double yellow lines, Coronation Street. I think it's round the school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Round the school, so
Any
because of
any concerns or
Parking.
comments? No.
No.
nothing. 8.4 revised licensing policy.
Yeah, there is a revised licensing policy, and if members have had the joy of looking at it and enjoying it, there is only one comment I'd like to submit, and that is it directs this draft policy towards specific sort of training. That training isn't available, so I'd like to comment on behalf of the committee to say amend this to identify training that can actually be accessed.
Is that all right, colleagues?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. 8.5 Cheshire East Highways response to the Delamere Street correspondence.
I've shared that. I think they've accepted the correspondence where we've said it's unclear as you leave, as you approach this new layout from one direction who's got right of way, and they will look at addressing it in due course, or investigating in due course.
Okay, so that's noted then.
It's to be noted, yeah. Yes.
Right. 9 to note correspondence associated with planning enforcement. 9.1 Brooklyn Street.
Yeah, something there. 34 Brooklyn Street, it's in the pack. Following receipt of the pallet concerns, they visited the site and examined what has taken place. And the fact that it's been an HMO since 2016 means they can take no actions against it.
Right.
And the site at Furnival Street is a Airbnb. The planning authority have no powers to enforce against its use or the means of the bins being left out. So I contacted Airbnb and made a formal complaint against that. They said it wasn't occupied when the bins were identified as being out. So anyone spots those bins being out, please let me know and I'll keep on complaining to them.
If I could just put a few moments about that. This particular Imperial Street is on the corner where I live. The application that came in was for 2 apartments, which are now being used as Airbnb. But one thing that we did as this committee was making certain that the bin storage for both of those units was inside their property. They've got, they've got a small garden at the front, and they've got actually rear access. Now we've always said in one of our many to be consistent, we want bin storage, we want
That's right.
parking if possible, and so on. These are permanently left on the pavements. There's 4 bins, a black one and a silver one for each apartment. And I saw one of the residents, because I thought they were being used as flats, and I said to him, can you take your bin in? He was actually walking on the pavement in Tips and Southern, and I just said, can you take your bin in? It'll be empty tomorrow or Sunday, and then we can get out. He said, oh, I don't live here. He said, this is Airbnb, I've rented it, And he said, it's whatever the name of the fellow turned out, I think. And I said, okay. So I asked Pete, could he write, and they basically said they've got no powers to make them get, unless it's an obstruction on the pavement. So there's 4 bins permanently on the pavement.
Right, yeah.
There's 2 if you look at the planning application for this site, there's 2 sites inside. One is in their front part, curtilage, and the other is down the side where you can park a car. Both have been added, and they're saying, and which has really annoyed me, and I probably shouldn't say this to Jerry, that why do we bother fight for this if they can say, well, you can do what you want. They're still there, by the way, and they haven't been anywhere else. I took them in, I shouldn't really say, make sure you get rid of this bit. I took them in to their property on the front, all 4 bins. I thought, and so the next time somebody put them out, and they've stayed there ever since.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it again, I was just proving a point.
If they're on the path, then surely, automatically, they're an obstruction.
Anyway, I don't want to work it, but I just want a background, because the committee insists, quite rightly, that we have identified bin storage
That's
inside
right,
properties.
Can I just ask, say, Chair, that within Cheshire East Council's own website, it does talk about taking your bins back into within the curtilage of the property after the due time, or else. So that the contents of that response to say we've got no powers. There's a bit of a conflict there, isn't there? Somebody in the legal department, Cheshire East Council, ought to resolve that.
But this is our ongoing issue with on-street waste, isn't
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm wrapping up now. Right,
Yes.
Madeline?
It comes up a lot, bins on pavements in our terrace streets in Crewe, and I generally go along and report the ones that are causing an obstruction. I don't report every single one. I cannot see that in this current economic climate that there is sufficient resources to enforce every single bin in the whole of Cheshire East that's left on a pavement, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I shall carry my battle on. Thank you for that, Madeline.
And
I
I also-
understand the practicalities.
I knock
but-
on doors and ask people to take them in, and sometimes I get a good response, luckily, and sometimes I just put the bin in round the back myself.
Well,
So we all do our bit, John, don't we?
I do more than my bit around my area, and people just look at it thinking, look at that old man doing that, what a fool. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this meeting up. It's been a very challenging meeting, but a very interesting meeting, because we've got, eventually, we've really explored some other things, and I've really enjoyed it, to say the least. So, okay, so item 10, to note the next meeting will be on the 20th of May at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure, and I wish you a safe journey home.
There's something wrong with